Hello, 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 Coach Tate back here again with another video. This time we're going to be doing a little bit more of an advanced video aimed primarily towards Master to Challenger and, for teams that are looking to gain a little bit more of an insight in towards how, professional teams path and why they do so and sort of give some insight again into one of the teams rivalry that may be existing in today's LEC. Self-made versus Whippo, okay? So, getting straight into it, why does this matter? It matters because this sort of stuff should be happening in a Master Plus environment. And if you're wondering why your heart's stuck in Master, maybe you're a jungler, maybe you are a support, mid, a top, whatever, you're at any role, playing on your jungler is how you win games efficiently, okay? Again, there are going to be games where the comps are just so whack. You can't really read what's going on too well. Or maybe there's just a bunch of lanes that you're supposed to be playing for as a jungler. And this game, you could be saying to yourself, well, there's Olaf top, but there's also Kalista bot. Obviously, both champs like to get a lead. If both champs don't get leads, it's kind of awkward. But then again, both comps do like to skirmish. So, in this game, and why it's so important is because we're going to be discussing how the jungle pathing is affecting their laners' decisions, and how priority, especially with their laners, vice versa, impacts the jungler's decisions. So everybody impacts everybody, and we might be discussing at the end how we might be able to abuse bad players, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is a professional level. This is where teams are paid the big bucks for performing and doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so bot lane gets priority, Yone gets priority here, or sorry, bot lane and blue side gets priority, red side gets priority mid, and then blue side gets priority top. I will give this, and then I will tell you why this is the case, and then we'll get into jungle pathing, and we'll talk about what happens in the game. But first off, like always, it starts in draft. So, starting in draft, we'll go top to bottom. Olaf versus Renekton. This is an older kind of counter pick, as explained by Cadril in this analysis, in sort of the in the co-casting or whatever it is for Fnatic versus Team Vitality in the LEC. But Olaf, why does he counter Renekton? Olaf is one of those champions that likes to skirmish, uses a lot of value from Conquer, and has a lot of sustain, especially if you have Corrupting Pot. You're going to be able to take those extended fights, which you value quite heavily, and especially level 1, Renekton doesn't have the ability to use his E, and so Olaf is going to be able to A, outrange, but B, outsustain, and C, outdamage, okay? Obviously, the passive from Olaf is able to take those extended fights, especially the lower you get, and really hard abuse some of those champions like to fight and skirmish. So basically, Olaf fights Renekton. Olaf just does it a whole lot better, but also has more wave clear, especially level 1. Okay, and if we're thinking about positioning in lane, Olaf also, I wish I could show something, but basically, it's very hard for Renekton to try and get some sort of breathe room in this wave. And so if Renekton wants to cue the wave, he's going to take an axe to the face. But if Olaf positions well, he's also going to get he's also going to get a cue to the face, but also through the wave, which allows you to again outpush, but also outtrade. Okay. What's it called? But E also does true damage, so you're going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, especially to those bruisery types with high base HP. So, top lane gets priority. Yone pushes in Akali. It's very simple. Level 1, both champions take Q. Yone is just a bit better, level 1 with the Q. For the reason being that Yone can Q all he wants, all day, every day. Akali has to spend a little more time thinking about how she wants to use a Q. I think she can use one every, disregarding the cooldown, and the energy you have to get her, back up. Use it every so often, okay? Whereas Yone has a little more freedom, has a little bit of an easier time stacking up the Conquer, which ultimately means, okay, well, if both champions were to go at it, and again, you could play the trading game, where you trade HP back and forth, but because of the matchup we'll talk about in a bit, if you're trading HP evenly, I do believe that Yone and Rumble have a better 2v2 than Akali and Viego earlier on, disregarding some sort of really good Viego stun. Where Akali is able to get a really nice E off or Q or whatever, and all of a sudden one person's chunked to half HP, or maybe they just get one shot, okay? If they're in kill range, for example. Bot lane is very simple. Kalista Braum hard beats Ezreal and Leona. Again, Ezreal does have that range advantage, but Leona can't do anything whatsoever. And so Braum steps up for free. If Leona ever walks up, gets Hello Blades, as well as Braum passive to the face, gets stunned, gets E'd, gets Kalista'd, and dies. Not dies, but burns flash. And we don't want that, okay? So, what does this mean for the jungler? Because if we assume that this happens, and this happens, again, if you're a jungler in this case, if you're Rumble, if you path into bot side and Viego paths into bot side, you're losing the scut. You might have to burn flash, and then now Viego gets a double scut. If you are Rumble in this case and you path top side and Viego does some sort of weird pathing where he ends up on the top side of the map, again, Olaf comes down, Braum comes up, Akali gets pushed in, but not too heavily, and Rumble is again sad. Now, what does this mean for Viego? What does this mean for Rumble? So you only have, we're going to talk about Rumble first. You only have mid lane priority to work with, okay? So what can you do in order to try and get in this early game? Because as is, you are getting hard out drafted right now, especially in the sides. Both comps sort of do the exact same thing, which is fight, fight, fight. But blue side does it very, very well and does it quite a bit better, especially in the early game, okay? How do you do something with this lead? We're going to talk about how Vitality tries to inch their way back in, but it's very, very simple, and we're going to talk about this quite a bit, quite extensively. Rumble goes leashless. This allows the information to be transferred, this allows little to no information to be transferred to the blue side as to where Rumble is looking to put his pressure. Now, Viego does this as well. He starts leashless, but if both champions were to have revealed where their information, where they were started, it'd be again, this would be very, very bad for Rumble. But Viego, we could actually expect Viego to path in the bot side. Okay, why is this the case? Because Kalista is one of those champions. If you play around, you're going to be rewarded so heavily. But again, Bwipo could be saying to himself, I also could start to path in the top side, because again, this could line up for the case where Olaf comes down and then Braum could come up. So we're going to try and disregard playing around which type of champions, but it is worthwhile to note that there are certain champions in the game, and if you're playing solo queue, that if you want to see your win rate go up a little bit, there are certain champions in the game you do want to play around. And we all know Draven, those Draven players where they have a win, they have a match history that's like 11-0, 11-0, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10. And then the random game where they're 4-5 or something like that. But if you don't play around them, they don't do anything. Okay? And if Kalista gets behind, it's very ugly, but you do have quite a bit to work with this game. So pathing wherever is fine, in my opinion, especially with the first 5 minutes. And when we're talking about initial game plans, it's all about the first 5 minutes. But Viego tries to hide where he starts, but he does end up starting topside. So both champions for the time being are pathing into bot side. What's the difference? We'll talk about the difference. So, getting into the game. Again, keep in mind the priority. Very, very important. Level 1, they're just trying to, disregard, Fnatic is trying to make sure that no sort of cheat stuff happens. So they do end up, if you notice down on the bot side here, they just do end up, stacking that bush there. Because if you do look at this priority, one of the ways you can look to cheese is to create an imbalance in the level 1, which means that, okay, maybe we can get a kill on the Kalista or burn their sums, maybe we can kill Olaf or something like that, and then that will change how this priority works. So now all of a sudden, this might go back and forth, because maybe Renekton comes back with a Doran's blade or a longsword and some pots, sorry, which would manipulate how the priority works, but nothing ends up happening. No cheese is being graded at this moment, so to speak. But I want you to be really, really cautious with how you're watching Rumble. Rumble starts Raptors. He can do this obviously because if you start Q, you're going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to this AoE camp, and you'll do it relatively quickly. You might actually do it faster than a Viego clears his blue buff, and by probably I mean definitely. So he just is going to quickly do this camp and head down into his bot side. Very important to note here as well that blue side doesn't look to get their or doesn't use their priority in order to secure vision. They're going to simply use another means. Okay. Now watch what happens here mid. This is very important. Remember we talked about Yone is going to get pushed in the mid lane. Just watch what he does after the second wave. Okay, because normally what I want you to do, especially as a mid laner, what I've told most of my mid laners is, if you can ever get a chi recall, do it. One of the reasons why I tell lower elo players to do this is because no jungler knows what they're doing, no top, no support, nobody really knows what they're doing, and so if you can get a free extra 450 gold, again, if you're CSing perfectly, that's what you're going to get, always do it. Especially because people fight all the time, random skirmishes happen. If you're an extra 450 in active gold and you're not losing anything in return, always do it. But this time, I think what Lighter does is very, very smart. He uses his push to secure vision. And we're going to talk about this, but he uses wave 1, slow pushes wave 1, gets 2 level first, and then hard shoves this wave. Shoves this wave, and then if you watch, he walks down over to Raptors and wards it, okay? So we're going to freeze frame. We see that he does this ward. Why is this ward so important? Okay. Well, first of all, this tells us a lot about where Viego started. Because Viego isn't not a champion that wants to look to take Krugs. He's very, very, very bad at doing Krugs, and it will slow him down. Rumble is a champion that wants to full clear. Okay. Again, as we've seen evidently that Rumble can take Raptors. So maybe this is a curveball in how Selfmade, or how Whippo views this matchup, or how Whippo might view Rumble. But we're going to disregard that for right now, and instead we're going to talk about why Viego not doing his Raptors indicates he's starting blue buff. Because if Viego were to have started red buff, chances are he would have taken Raptors. The other thing he could have done is also done red, blue Gromp, and then look to clear back down into bot side. And then this we would have seen this happening where he would have shown over Raptors in this case, because it would have been roughly around 255-ish, 245. Sorry, not 245, 255, 250 when he would have came back in this clear. But again, we would have seen Viego coming back down, okay? We would have seen him do Raptors, and then obviously we knew he's coming back down here. But instead what he does is does blue Gromp Wolves, hits the red. And again, I don't like this word too much because as we end up seeing, it actually doesn't show Viego going over whatnot. But Viego is actually very, very smart in this case. Whippo knows that Lighter ended up warding Raptors, so he goes around. He makes sure he uses his vision to his advantage, and then he goes for his red buff over the wall. Again, it doesn't really mean too much because we know that if Raptors were to have been taken right now, if Raptors were taken right now, he would go blue, Gromp, Wolves, red, Raptors red, or he would have done red Raptors into top, or he would have done red and then did like a cow clear, red, blue, Gromp. So in any sort of sense, this is just trying to track Viego. This word is very, very important. And so it reveals now that Viego is going to be putting his pressure bot side and then looking to either go mid, go bot, or just take bot scut. And now look at where Rumble is on the map. Rumble is clearing back into his top side, which means he's kind of happy at this case. He's like, okay, thank the Lord, I can try and contest top side scut without the need of worrying about Viego too heavily, obviously. Although there might be a run-in with Olaf. Will there be? We'll see in just a moment. Notice that this is the third wave. Olaf is not going to crash that third wave. Come and chill a little bit. Rumble is going to do his... I don't know why we're really seeing too much... Okay, this is... I guess Cadriel is talking about this, this pathing. But we see some trades happening mid. It's very important that this is happening with this. because again, mid lane is not really the deciding factor. But if Lighter is able to get some sort of really heavy 2v1 action or something like that and gets a lead, it's entirely Nissy's fault. But why should we know this is happening on the side of Lighter? Well, yes, he's got this ward, but he's probably going to be yelled at by his coach that this ward doesn't see this, and it also doesn't show this. Okay, it doesn't actually show, because if we hug this wall on Viego's part, Whippo won't actually be seen. Viego will not be seen if he hugs this wall. Similarly, if he holds this, he will not be seen. Which is why this ward is probably one of the worst wards I've ever seen in my life. But Whippo abuses this, but also we noticed that bot lane's missing. Bot lane support is missing. It's the third wave crash. We 100% know that Braum is going to be active. We actually saw him go over a ward, I think. We actually saw him on right side. If you see in the bottom side, bottom right hand corner of your screen, Braum is moving. So Lighter shouldn't be pushing this wave. He should be just chilling. Okay. Because if Rumble were not to have been here right now, Lighter's burning flash or he's dead. Instead, Olaf goes on self-made, which I think is the better decision, because if you're thinking about what happens here, chances are it might be a long fight, and then self-made, getting Rumble out of the game by burning his flash is very, very important here. It means a lot more than just maybe getting the kill in the mid laner. Although if Olaf would have turned there, chances are Yoni probably would have died. But nonetheless, why does this matter? Well, self-made again. Self-made path Raptors. Okay, what the hell? Self-made path Raptors, bot side at the top. Viego path top side into bot. And then did this weird little pathing here. They used the Olaf Prairie to then secure bot topside vision, knowing that they don't know where Rumble started. He could have done anything. So they're trying to then find the Rumble where he is, because they abused again their early game so hard. Self-made then gets spotted out, gets turned on, gets slowed by the Olaf axe, gets chased down into his own jungle, burns flash, and is now at a very, very disadvantageous position because now Viego gets double cut. And again, Braum was coming up here, and then at this point they both base. Braum comes back, the wave's coming back into them. But at this point, if Ezreal and Leona want to try and do something here, it's going to be pretty much useless, because now all of a sudden we can try and get some action going on over here, and Olaf is basing, still has TP, but at this point, if they were to try and do that, it might be a little bit awkward, because Renekton would get back in the game. So Olaf does want to use his TP topside and whatnot. So I don't think this is very advantageous for them to try and go for if they were wanting to look for a play like that. But Viego gets double scut. Rumble's kind of in a weird pickle, and Viego is very, very far ahead. Like I said, at this point, the first 5 minutes goes heavily over to Fnatic's side. They won this draft, first of all, in the early game side of things, but they also hard won the early game. So they won theoretically, and they also won in the execution. And this is why this is LEC, this is why this is pro play, because this is something that you want to look for in players, especially when you're scouting them, to see if they're able to communicate and create game plans like this. Now, the next bit I do want to quickly touch on, because it's actually really important, and this actually shows a huge weakness in Vitality's gameplay. So if you notice, I'm just going to go full screen here, and we're going to disregard the pick ban thing. Adam does this. He bases, he TP's top to collect that wave. Renekton tried to come and help Rumble. Nothing too much is going to happen out of that. The wave's coming back into into Olaf, and so Renekton is going to need to push that, hard shove that base, and then whatnot. Now Viego is going to go. What's it called? Viego is going to just clear his bot side scut, get his double scut, and at this point you have options. Rumble looked to clear his Krugs, and then I don't know really. Looked to clear his Krugs, and then looked to clear his Raptors maybe. Wait, he looked to clear his Krugs, Raptors, and then he's looking to base, trying to get some sort of pace in this game. Although at this point, Viego's hard out pacing. He's going to clear his bot side camps, and now this is where I think a fundamental miscommunication occurs, where Viego has options after doing the scuttle. He could go bot side scut to clear his bot side camps, and they should absolutely understand that these camps are still up, because if you were to have pressed tab at that point when you saw Viego, you know he only had 20 CS, or sorry, actually 16 CS. He only had 16 CS after coming towards that scut, so we know he cleared his top side camps, especially because it's Viego. He's more or less of a single camp clear. Sorry, a blue side camp clear. He enjoys clearing blue side camps because it's not really an AoE type vibe. And we also know his Raptors are still up. So after doing scut, he tries to look to clear his bot side camps. And so this right here is a little awkward. Okay, if we notice, okay, so Renekton can move at this point, although Olaf has a base over him. So this topside matchup is actually going to go heavily in Olaf's favor as soon as this wave pushes back into Renekton. So this is going to gatekeep Renekton, sorry. So Olaf is going to gatekeep Renekton, keep that in mind. Mid lane, Yone is still getting pushed in this lane. Keep that in mind. They just warded. Okay, they just warded Raptors. This tells us 100,000% Whippo is clearing into bot side. He's clearing red, or sorry, he's clearing Raptors on red side. Now he's going to clear Krugs, and he's going to head down into bot to cover. Why would he cover? Rumble just cleared his top side camps, if you just remembered, based, and then head straight towards his bot side camps. So what are the chances of Rumble getting back into this game now that he's behind? Rumble needs to gank bot. Rumble needs to do something, because at this point in time, Viego is going to be able to get a little bit higher of a lead, and he's going to be able to snowball this game if they don't do anything. They see this wave coming in. Now this should be important to note that, again, this vision should be there. They should understand this vision's here. So that right there is one of the most int things I've ever seen in my life, because we understood that Raptors are gone, Krugs are gone, which means he could be right here. Now Ezreal hasn't even based yet, so Kalista has a base over him, and Rumble's not even here. So the only thing I could be thinking to myself that could be happening is Leona could have tried to take this trade, understanding that Rumble is going to be there soon. Whippo comes, Lebrov is gone. Okay, no idea why that happens. It's just super int. It just doesn't make any sense. And then what happens next also doesn't make sense, because again, your bot lane hasn't based yet. You're versus Kalista and Braum, one of the stronger duos in the early game. Then we see this happening here. They're TPing. Akali could TP here in just a second, but then you're dealing with Viego, Braum, and Kalista. Very strong early game champions. Rumble takes it way too quickly. It's just going to get insta blown up. And then flashes are coming out, kills are coming out, and this game is simply over. So the early game goes over to Fnatic quite hard, but this just doesn't make any sense. This is like really awkward from Vitality. No idea why this is happening. Don't know if Lebrov is going to have a job after this game. This is just really awkward. But again, this is how we can abuse early game plans, okay? And how you can abuse this in your solo queue games, because again, at the end of the day, this is all competitive. Drafts are really heavily planned in solo queue, in NA especially, or in any sort of reason. I shouldn't even just say NA. Drafts are all over the place. You have Enchantress supports being locked in and counterpicking themselves into like a Leona or something like that. And so if you see the bot lane gets priority, and mid gets pushed in, and then top gets priority, and all of a sudden something happens level 1 that warps this. Let's say now Renekton pushes this in because they have an extra item. Now you want to play around your Olaf, or now you want to play around Renekton, and then similarly Viego wants to path away. And then let's say, for instance, all lanes are getting pushed in or something like that, and then something happens, but now we can warp our game plan again. So adapting, always adapt if something in your solo queue game happens. But make the plan initially, especially before the game even starts. Adapt. But the second part there is just a little bit of a tidbit, because I just found it so funny that was even happening. But again, hopefully you took something away. Hopefully you learned something. Hiding information from your starting where you're starting is very important, especially in higher elo games where they're able to read priority a little bit better. They're able to play around waves, and they're able to do this, do that, and try and really make sure the jungler doesn't really have a good time. really important that we take note of stuff like this, okay? So that's me for right now. Hopefully, we learned a thing or two. Thanks so much for watching, and cheers.